Hello guys and gals, and this is a video game review for Hexen 2. Also I have the instruction manual that originally came with it. I still bought a digital copy of this from Steam. I believe it's considered abandonware, so you can basically get it for free, I think. But anyways, my problem is that I should probably try this version, but OBS doesn't really pick up the footage, so I don't have any footage from this game. It is basically like the first Hexen and also like Heretic and Doom, and it's a first-person shooter, except it has a more medieval feel. There are 4 different characters this time, and as opposed to 3 in Hexen. There was 1 in Heretic. Technically, there are 5 characters because there is an expansion called the Portals of Pravis, I believe. And the Demoness is the 5th character, but we're only going to go over the, this is really a nice instruction book. I think the main reason I kept it was, right here, there's a picture of a Pegasus here, but there aren't any Pegasus in the game, so that's kind of misleading. This tells the story of the Serpent Riders. Yeah, right there it says, The Serpent Riders. Anyways, first Serpent Rider was Desperal. Desperal was the end boss of Heretic, actually. Heretic was basically took the Doom franchise and made it medieval. Korax is from Hexen, the end boss of Hexen. He had like 6 arms or something. Anyways, I have beat Korax as the warrior. That video will be on my channel. And the boss of this one is Eidolon. Anyways, there are 4 continents. There is, Black Marsh, Mazera, I believe it's pronounced. That one I like. That's like an Aztec area. Really, really nice. Has were-jaguars. Really cool. In, authentic Aztec gear, which is really cool. There's also Theseus, which is Egypt inspired, if I remember right. And there's Septimus, which is basically Roman-inspired, and Greek in the architecture and even some of the creatures that appear there. This talks about the hazards and peculiarities. Talks about precipices. There is fall damage, I believe. You can fall into bottomless pits. There are rivers and lakes. You can drown if you don't get out of them in time. Lava, it burns, of course. There's traps. And there's teleporters. This is just some of the creatures. There's scorpions and spiders. Spiders are the most annoying thing in the world in the game. They sound terrible. The only thing satisfying about them is a satisfying splat when you actually kill them. Scorpions aren't quite as bad, but anyways. There are imps. There are night archers. They are basic common enemies around here. There are hydras that dwell in water. They're very spooky. Oh, now there's golems. You encounter those in the second part of the... Basically, there is a big, long string of things you have to do in the first part, and then it leads to a second part, and then, yeah. I will go over that briefly after we go over these. There's golems, and there are skull wizards. Golems explode when you're close to them or when they die, so you need to run away from those. Skull wizards are just a pain. Fallen angels, I believe those are only in the final part of the game. Medusas, same story. I think that they're only in the Greek part of the game, actually. It looks like they don't have any arms. I think they just mainly took snakes, and yeah, that's fine. Anyways, let's see here. There are mummies, were-jaguars. Mummies are in the 3rd area, I believe. I did do a playthrough of this. I just wasn't able to post the footage because for some reason OBS doesn't record the video very well. It just stays a still image. It records the sound just fine. I still haven't found out why. Were-jaguars are part of the Aztec area. Then there's the Riders of the Apocalypse, which are the 4 horsemen. Let's see, you face Pestilence, I believe. Pestilence. Let's see, Hunger. You fight Famine first, then Death, then Pestilence, I believe, and War, I believe. and they're just the four horsemen basically. Artifacts. There's all this different armor here. But yeah, we're gonna go over the characters here briefly. This is just some of the different items. There's the healing vials, which were called crystal flasks in the last game. Quartz flasks are back. Crystal vials, actually, these are considered called healing vials. They use a different engine for this. It's more of a 3D thing. The other was more 2D. It's kind of a cleaner look. It's hard to explain. But you have your mystic urns. These bring you back to life if you die, as opposed to fully healing your HP. So some of the items that you might be used to in Hexen have a slightly different purpose here. There's still blue mana, green mana, and combined mana, and the Crater of Might does the exact same thing. Now, there's still the Chaos Device, the Boots of Speed, the Disc of Repulsion, the Icon of the Defender. The Tome of Power is back. I don't believe that Hexen had the Tome of Power. With the Tome of Power, you can basically power through the bosses, so the game isn't overly difficult. If you just save up your Tomes of Power, they basically magnify the power of your weapons by a lot, and gives your weapons new abilities, which is really cool. Instead of the Porculator, which was in the Hexen, there's now the Seal of the Ovenmancer, which turns people to sheep as opposed to pigs in the last one. Glyph of the Ancients, Force Cube. Stone of Summoning, I forget exactly what that does. It summons something to fight for you, kind of like the Minotaur in the original one, the original Hexen. And the Invisibility Sphere is the same as the one in Doom. There are different rings this time. The Ring of Flight that allows you to fly, which takes the place of the Wings of Wrath, I believe they were called in the original Hexen. There's the Wing of Water Breathing, which allows you to breathe underwater. The Ring of Regeneration restores your health slowly over time, but it has a limited charge. And the Ring of Reflection basically reflects projectiles off of you. Now, before we go into the different characters here, we're going to go over just what in the very first level, some of the things you have to do just to get to the next stage. The puzzles in this game are multi-portal, multi-platform, basically hub-based. But you'll go through several portals just to complete just one task. In the very first thing you have to do is you have to get the Bones of Lorik, and to do that you dive underwater, you go through a secret passage, and then you find the Bones of Lorik. But that isn't enough. You have to find the windmill key by blowing up the tower using a ballista, and then you go to the sawmill. It's some kind of mill. Anyways, you grind the bones to dust, then you go back to the first area, and you get the Potion of Transmutation, but that isn't it, because there is a mithril door between you and the key that you need to get to the next area. So you have to dive underwater, brave hydras and all that stuff, use the potion to turn this underwater door from mithril into wood. You break it, you break down the door, get the key, and then you get to go to the next area. It is a lot more involved than that, but that is just an example. Another example is that in the fourth area, I actually had to have a walkthrough because I couldn't figure it out. I remembered enough of the second and third area to, the second area anyways, to basically find my way through. Anyways, let's go over the characters real quick. We have the Crusader, who is a lot like the Paladin. He has special abilities, actually. We won't go over those very much, but he's a fighter type. He likes melee weapons, and let's see what weapons he has. There's a picture of the Crusader. He starts out with a Warhammer, and no, he can't throw it. None of the characters that you can choose from actually start with a ranged weapon besides the Demoness, which is basically in the expansion, which I don't have. The Portals of Pravis. Anyways, The Crusader's weapons are the Warhammer. It's basically a hammer. If you remember in the first in the first Hexen, the cleric used a mace, and this is kind of like the cleric. The second is the ice mace. If you hit an enemy enough, they'll turn into an ice cube and then shatter. There is the meteor staff, which is similar to the cleric's burning hands or whatever, burning rain, except that it sends a meteor right at an enemy for a lot of damage, I might add. And then if you collect all the pieces, I think there are 2 pieces to Lightbringer, then, what does that do anyways? The Holy Relic, the relic issues forth a deadly ray of holy light that sears and dissolves everything in its path. Okay, it's that one. But all of these have special features if you use the Tome of Power with them. We won't really go into those, though. This is a review of the game, not an exact walkthrough, as much as I would like for it to be. Actually, the Crusader is different from the Paladin because the Paladin's right here. I think that the Crusader is more of a warrior-type person. He can also breathe underwater, I think. But, anyways, the Paladin is another fighter class, so if you like, melee attacks and stuff like that, doing melee stuff, then he's probably good for you as well. He starts off with the gauntlets, which is what the warrior started off with in the last game. And he also gets a sword, which is, wait, did this say, no. He got these are different. In the first Hexen, the warrior got, an axe. This one, he gets a sword, the Vorpal sword. But he does get an axe later on that he can throw and it bounces off the walls. In the first Hexen, he could throw his axe and it would blow up when it hit its target. He also gets the Purifier, and the Purifier, I think, breathes a stream of glittering shards, sending anything that breaks its brilliant path. There are 2 halves to the Purifier. So it fires off glittering shards, and anything that gets in the way gets destroyed. And again, it's different for if you use the Tome of Power with it. The Assassin is more of a stealth fighter. Kind of think Snake in Solid Snake. Well, Solid Snake in the Metal Gear franchise. The Assassin likes to use stealth. One of her abilities is that if she stands in shadows long enough, then she can turn invisible. Completely invisible. And she likes to attack from behind and can get lethal strikes like that. So think of the Thief class, the Rogue class in World of Warcraft. She starts off with a Katar, which is the dagger things right there. There's a good one right there. A good picture of it. She also gets the hand crossbow, which really comes in handy because it is range, and she's kind of frail up close, so she relies on ranged attacks. She also gets grenades, and again, the grenades, you can throw them and they'll blow up, but they do different things if you use the Tome of Power with them. And lastly, she gets the Staff of Set, which is kind of a scarab-looking weapon. And you can charge it up, and it will fire off a really powerful blast, or you can just fire it rapid fire, and it will fire off these scarab beetles. And again, it does something different with the Tome of Power is enacted. Lastly is the Necromancer, who is a lot like the mage in the previous game, and actually also a lot like the main protagonist of the Heretic franchise. Anyways, he is, of course, basically a mage type person. He starts off with a sickle, and the special thing about a sickle is that sometimes it will cause life drain, or it'll do life drain to enemies, and he can use it to restore his own health, which is good considering he is kind of physically frail. He also gets the spell Magic Missiles. and bone shards, which are ranged attacks. And I think the bone shards hit enemies and then they fracture off into more bone shards. And last thing he gets is the Raven Staff, and this one is especially brutal because if you use it with the Tome of Power, it basically wraps your enemies in chains and they get pecked to death by ravens. Very, very gruesome. But anyways, as you can see, I do have the original. This is back in a time when you would actually get a sizable manual here. And this is basically, the manual in here is about the installation of the game, the keybinds, and stuff like that. So, yeah, as you can see, there's a bunch of cracks here because this has been in storage for 15 years probably. This game here. I always kept I always really liked the instruction manual, so I always kept it in good shape. But as you can see here, there's a bunch of cracks in the original here just because it's been in storage for so long. In terms of Hexen, I mean Heretic, I have Heretic 2, which I don't know if you can even buy anymore. I don't even remember when I bought this, actually. But it took the Heretic franchise and kind of turned everything on its head. It was more of a Dark Souls type game, actually, believe it or not. Before Dark Souls was a thing, there was Heretic 2. But I will do a review of that in a different video. Also found my copy of Death Kings of the Dark Citadel, which I bought off of Steam, but I do have the original also. Again, I didn't pay much for them. It was like, you got like all of the Hexen and Heretic games, minus Heretic 2, which I don't know if you can actually buy that one anymore, but you got all of those for really, really cheap, I felt, for like nostalgia's sake. Anyways, so this game plays a lot like Hexen, Heretic, Doom, but it also incorporated an experience system. So you would gain experience as you destroyed and killed enemies. So you would steadily gain more hit points, more mana, and really, really a nice system there. So if you worked really hard, you could basically grind levels and become more powerful. Again, the bosses tend to be a little bit laughable because if you had a Tome of Power, you could basically power through them. The end boss, if I remember right, I don't think that I've played completely through the game lately, but the end boss had a unique mechanic where you could use ballistas. They'd have ballistas set up around an arena type thing, and you would go to the ballistas and fire ballistas at the end boss in order to damage him, because he had a secondary form, I think, that was like huge, and I always remember that fight was always really fun, because you could go around, there were 4 ballistas, and you had to dodge the boss's fire while going around the different ballistas and hitting him with shots from the ballista. But yeah, so this is really a fun game if you like first-person shooters. This just has a lot of nostalgia for me because it is, for me, it was one of the early games I played that was a first-person shooter. I think Doom or Wolfenstein 3D was either the first, but it was up there because as I got more into the first-person shooting genre, then I ended up getting Hexen, Heretic, Heretic 2, Hexen 2, other ID and Raven games, and they were really popular at the time. Raven and ID Software were putting out Doom-based games in different genres. I think they even put out like the Chex Quest or whatever it was called, where it was Doom, but it was kid-friendly, and you played as like Chex Man or something, and all the enemies were like, I don't remember. But I did find my copy of Chex Quest, which was that. Also, I think that Wisdom Tree or something bought one of the first-person shooters and then turned it into a Noah's Ark game or something where you had to feed animals or something. It was really kind of interesting. But anyways, that is beside the point. This video has gone on way too long. But anyways, this is a very fun game if you like first-person shooters. And if you want to try something unique, the platforming is really difficult in some parts and can be tough to master. Um, the enemies can, it tends to be a very tough game, and some of the puzzles are really difficult unless you have a walkthrough. You can sometimes puzzle out where to find certain things, but sometimes you can get stuck for a very long time unless you have like a walkthrough. So it's one of those really complicated games that is a puzzle game that mixes platforming with first person shooting, which is pretty cool, and it has practically infinite replayability since there are four characters in the base game, and if you do manage to find the expansion, the Portals of Pravis, then there's a fifth character that I know absolutely nothing about, just that she is a demoness and that her first attack is like a ranged attack, which is unique because nobody else starts out with a ranged attack. But anyways, that is going to do it for this review. This is a game by, as I said, ID Software, and I think it was by ID Software. I might be lying. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it was. Does it say here somewhere? I don't know. Let's say that this is Raven ID Software. I don't have any idea, but it seems like something they would produce. But anyways, so yeah, this is a game that I would highly recommend you check out, and so yeah, but that's just my opinion. You can take my opinion or leave it. Either way, it's fine. And if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, or if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. You are loved, and have a great day.